So like she's sitting there and like, I don't like to make trouble with anybody. Like I'm not going to be the first person.
Sometimes you do.
Well, but only when I've been.
Yeah.
But
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
It's an ongoing issue, really.
With her specifically, and I don't know why, right? And I think I'd like to put.
Totally. Oh, my bad. I'm listening. Come on.
Anyway, so then Ron walks in, and Ron actually mentioned you specifically, which is
classic Ron.
Well, but you and him have had that like. There's been a bit of a
little disconnect.
Well, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Come on.
It's hard. It's hard to. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so like Ron turns to her, and you're not gonna believe what she does. Like she looks down, then looks out the window, turns back to Ron, and like, man, I'm trying to tell a story here.
My bad.
You're playing the whole. What's going on today, man?
I can't help it.
Got me again. I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music Explored.
Explored, brought to you today by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs.
Wait, tell me that again. Open
Studio Jazz.
Got it. That's a happy place.
And by the way, when Ron came in, he was like,
that was good.
It was fun, right? Little gossip corner.
That was good.
Had.
I like that. That was fun. You sounded good, man.
Oh, you too, man. Shout out also to Bob DeBoo and Caleb Kirby playing on our intro and outro.
They took off quickly, though.
They did. We do have a special outro today, a little two-piano, Rhodes piano
that's gonna be nice.
Duet on the way out.
Yep.
Peter.
It's a big day.
My man.
I came prepared. I got a stack of goodies here.
You have a, is that a limited edition?
Shh, don't say anything yet. Don't say anything yet.
Today we're talking about one of my favorite, I think one of your favorite, one of most people's favorite albums of all time. We're talking about
millions.
Oh my gosh. Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, his 1979 masterpiece, an incredible work of art, and like an incredible Michael planting the flag. Like, yes. I am here. I'm a grown up now, kind of.
Yeah,
he's still a teenager.
Yeah. Well, no, I think he wasn't even 19.
He was 20, I think. Yeah. No. But still, he's still relatively very young. But
when he grew up in the public eye.
He did. He started very young. But we'll get into that. We'll kind of get into the story of how this one came about. This wasn't his first solo album. He had some solo albums for Motown, but this was his first solo album away from Motown. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And what I really want to talk about is Michael as a performer, he starts, of course, with the Jackson 5. Yeah. They leave Motown and they can't take the Jackson 5 name with them. So they move to Epic and they become the Jacksons. And this is when Michael...
So the Jacksons is different than the Jackson 5?
Well, it's
legally it is.
It's the same people for the most part. I think Jermaine stayed at Motown.
Yeah.
But they made a few records, and this is on one of those early Jacksons record. And Michael is a teenager here. This is Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. Woo! Little foreshadowing of maybe what's to come in a couple of years.
I think this was right before the record, right before Off the Wall. Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen to you, baby, but I do know that I love you. You walk around this town with your head on up in the sky, and I do
Where are my skates? Where are my
that I want you. Let's dance, let's shout, shake your body down to the ground. Let's dance, let's shout.
I mean, entering a new era of pop music here with the Jacksons and the late 70s in general.
Man, his attack, like, you know, his syncopation, it was always there, even when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
But I remember this period, and I want to say, was that on Destiny? I don't even know here. It doesn't matter. I know this came out right before Off the Wall, because this was one of the first, like, kind of mature Michael's, like his voice and his vibe, his like with the rhythm and the feel and everything was in there.
I think as we're going to discover as we get more into Off the Wall, and this is all still young Michael here, pre-Thriller, right? Pre-Moonwalk.
Yeah.
But he is, even at this point, even at the point with the Jacksons here, he is one of the great vocal performers of all the time. And he doesn't even have like this incredible, you know, instrument that a lot, like he's not Luther Vandross, right? Like, he doesn't have this amazing.
He had a great instrument, but it wasn't. I know
it was very unique, and you know it's him as soon as he starts singing, unless it's one of his brothers singing, or sometimes. But his every single like vocal rhythmic thing that he does, every single improvisation that he does, every run, every single that he does is like super. It just rips your heart out. Like
he
super
was an
impactful.
Incredible musician. And I think because, you know, like Randy and Jermaine and Tito, like he had so many, they were playing the instruments, right? And he was not seen with an instrument. And I know he played some piano, I guess, and guitar, but like he wasn't, you know, his older brothers and like you saw them playing all the time. And he was like, obviously the singer, the entertainer, could dance, had the charisma. Well, they all did. But I mean, you know, let's us not forget how you show off how a great musician you can be with your instrument of the voice.
Yeah.
He was there. You talk about your Sarah Vaughan's, your Frank Sinatra. Well, Quincy talked about this.
Yeah.
Like that's very much the lens with which he saw it. Sorry, did I jump ahead?
No, you're right on track here. So that takes us to where we are here. Right around the same time, the Jacksons are making their album. Michael is maturing as a performer.
Yeah. He
gets a gig with the film version of the musical The Wiz, starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. And exactly, look at that. That is a limited edition vinyl copy of the
and it's just, you know, it's got the poster. It's even got the, let's get to listen to it. I'll show you some
So
things
here's Quincy talking about that.
When Michael was 19, when we first worked together, he was co-starring in, and I was the musical director. I was resisting it for the score of the movie version of The Wiz. We worked on The Wiz first. And he said, I'm going to go be on Epic, and I'd like you to help me find a producer. I said, Michael, I don't want to talk about that. You don't even have a song in the picture yet. You got Ease On Down the Road with Dinah, but you don't have a solo song, you know? So I'm going to get you a song first, and then we talk about the rest. And we got You Can't Win in there for the Scarecrow song.
It was terrific. It's something I always wanted to do. And it was a lot of fun working with all the greats, Sidney Lumet, Quincy Jones.
And then I started to watch him, how intuitive he was. He knew everybody's dialogue. He did makeup for 5 hours, and he knew all of their songs and all of their dance steps. Michael was one very, very special talent. I mean, really special in every way.
Incredible. So that's Quincy Jones and a little bit of Michael Jackson talking about the experience of The Wiz, where they didn't meet for the first time, but they worked together for the first time. Peter's holding up this incredible vinyl album of the recording, the original soundtrack of The Wiz. But as you heard Quincy there, like Michael, and he famously did this throughout his career, he knew everybody's part, he knew everybody's songs, he knew everybody's dance moves.
Yeah.
Just always the most talented person in whatever room he's in. And so, as Quincy alluded to, he didn't have a song in the movie, he had Ease On Down the Road, but they added this song, which is one of my favorite all-time MJ moments, You Can't Win.
You gotta look ready till you get it. Elucidate, reiterate, and syncopate.
He's playing the Scarecrow.
You can't win. You can't make it even, and you can't get out of it.
He's doing this kind of thing.
People keep saying
He's like scooping his...
wanna change, but they look just like the
Ooh.
Isn't that great?
So good.
19.
Yeah.
You can win, child. You can't break even. You can't get out.
And of course, Quincy Jones is the musical director for The Wiz, amongst many, many other things.
Yeah.
They strike up a conversation. Michael wants Quincy to produce his first solo album on Epic, and this is Quincy talking about that.
Machine, all those great things they did, great producers. I think I'd like to take a shot at producing your new record because I felt something else in him. We finished the movie. Michael came back all teary-eyed one day and said, the people at Epic don't want to use you. They said, you're too jazzy. I said, Michael, we would be fine, just fine. And thank God, he went back and they fought and they said, he's doing it, Everybody at Epic, black and white, said, no way, it's not going to work. And I love that.
Yes, I know
you do. All you got to do is get me going is underestimate me.
Quincy
When I
Jones.
first started
Yeah.
working with him, his father and everybody else says, you can't make him any bigger. I said, we'll see. And one thing led to another.
Quincy Jones, just the best. I love that he talks there about people underestimating him. And
Yeah.
it's like the easiest way to get him going because I feel that too. It's such a great motivator when people are like, you can't do something. And man, and just he obviously could do anything. He's Quincy Jones. And at this point, he was, the Sinatra arranger and the Ella arranger and music director. And he's a jazz horn player, you know what I mean? But Quincy had this in him. I love this relationship so much on Off the Wall and Thriller specifically because I feel like those two together make magic happen as we're about to hear. There's something about their relationship. It's, they're different generations.
Yeah.
And Quincy's sensibility is not quite the same as Michael's, but they bring out something in each other that is so magical, so special.
Yeah, I think that commonality between them of striving for perfection, very competitive, as you mentioned, like with Quincy with Epic Records and stuff, but Michael was very much that same way. The Jacksons, all of them were with this record and their record before, like with, the Bee Gees and Saturday Night Fever was the biggest record before. And they were like, we're going to have a bigger record than that. It was, there was a lot of things. There was definitely a little bit of father figures certainly working together and stuff with Michael and Quincy. It's a super interesting relationship. And, plus Quincy was like, by this point, Quincy had done so much stuff. He'd lived in Europe.
Yeah.
And, studied like, orchestration, but he'd also done big band playing. I think he was from Seattle. He traveled with, a bunch of jazz musicians and bands, produced a lot of different kinds of things. Television, he did, Pawnbroker. He did a bunch of movies, soundtracks.
Yeah, a bunch of great film scores.
Yeah. And so but he wasn't Q like we know him yet, but it was this record that really made him that. So I understand how Epic and stuff was kind of like, what? No, we're not getting him.
So Michael fought for him.
Yeah.
Michael fought for him, got him. And Off the Wall was recorded between December 1978. Hey, shout out December 1978, by the way.
Was that
that's when I came into the world.
Nice. Okay.
December 30th.
So we both have an interesting thing because I was 8 years old when this record came out in 1979. I believe it was July or August, whatever that summer. This is the first pop record that I have memories. First pop record. Like I was listening to jazz records before that.
Right.
No, this is the first record that came on the radio that I remember like where I was when the singles came up. And when I heard it, like going to skate to this stuff at U City, shout out U City skating rink and Saints and Olivet.
Remember when records were made for the skating rink?
Yes. Yeah. And then, this was a big record. And I remember how it felt that summer.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
So it was recorded between December 1978 and June 1979. So ended recording in June, was released in August.
Yeah.
Like that's a really quick turnaround.
And I think, what was the first track?
Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Don't Stop. I think that was the first single. And I think that came out earlier in the summer, I believe.
Could have.
But yeah.
I love this quote here about the sessions. Quincy Jones famously implemented what he called check your ego at the door sessions, where everyone focused solely on making the best possible record. For some of Michael's vocal recordings, the engineer would dim the studio lights completely or turn them off to help Michael feel less self-conscious and more emotionally connected to the material, which we're about to hear. So
detail-oriented. Very detail-oriented.
Does lead us to the first track and the first single. This is Don't Stop Till You Get Enough from Off the Wall.
I was wondering, if you could keep on because the force, it's got a lot of power and it makes me feel like
Woo!
It makes me feel like
But no string. Horns, the dynamics. Oh, wait. guitar. I got time. Oh, man, his layered vocals. Damn. Woo. These horns here. Oh, second time. Actually, here it comes. Woo.
I mean, if it's not the best production of the 70s, we've already talked about Asia, Songs in the Key of Life. It is up there.
Yeah.
It is up there. The quality
There's nothing better than it.
Oh my gosh.
I'll put it out there.
Everything sounds so delicious on this recording, and there's space for everything. By the way, this is one of the tracks on the album that was written by Michael Jackson.
Yep.
So Michael wrote this song. It's an incredible song. And it's a ridiculous band. We got Louis Johnson on bass, John Robinson on drums,
JR.
Greg Phillinganes.
Greg Phillinganes
on
all over
keyboards.
this record. The great.
The great Greg
Yeah.
Phillinganes. There is not modern keyboard piano playing without Greg Phillinganes.
Yeah.
We got David Williams and Marlo Henderson on the guitars.
And those three got, well, I mean, Louis Johnson, of course, Johnson Brothers Johnson, I should say.
Brothers Johnson, yeah.
Like, and they're all over. I think this is key bass action on here. This may be George Duke. He's on some of this stuff.
Uncredited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Louis Johnson, Greg Phillinganes, and J.R. Robinson. I know they had done some stuff before this with Q, with Quincy Jones, with Q. But like that became, I know this record, like those really became his guys.
Yeah.
And they overdubbed some stuff. There were several versions of this. There's a lot of fun lore about this in the studio.
Well, and so the horn section is a section called the Sea Wind Horns, and it's arranged by Jerry Hay.
Jerry Hay, yep.
Jerry Hay, legend. Also, did you know Jerry Hay, uncle of great jazz pianist Henry Hay? Just want to shout out Henry Hay
Henry
here.
Hay.
Henry Hay, we love your stuff.
Yeah.
But horns are amazing. The arrangements are amazing. So we actually have here is a little bit.
Actually, on the Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, the string arrangements and the horn arrangements.
Yeah.
Oh, are we about to get into some of
Well,
that?
have you heard what Quincy said about the strings?
No.
You know, Michael didn't want the strings.
Right. I knew he
So
didn't want it.
He didn't want them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's a famous interview with Quincy now where he's like, when you think about that, what do you think of?
Right.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
And the way
it's not wrong.
And the way the stuff is arched, because it's like, like the bowings and stuff. It's very, very intentional, you know.
Well, Quincy, an amazing string arranger. Here's Michael's home demo writing Don't Stop.
Bottle?
It's just this is like his whole setup with everything.
Don't stop till you get enough. Don't stop till you get enough. Don't stop.
I mean, it's already there.
I know. Oh, listen. Just it's missing one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I mean, I'd be happy with this.
Yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
Even the demo vocal.
Yeah.
Slays.
Ba-doom. Ba-doom.
So that's Michael Jackson's home demo of Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. So before we get to our categories, Peter, here, there's a few notable tracks that I want to mention before we get to our...
Damn, we're not going to listen to the whole record?
We're going to listen to most of it, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the key tracks on here. I mean, they're all key tracks. This is really banger after banger. There's a couple of quibble bits that we could talk about. First is Off the Wall. I like to think of Off the Wall, the title track, written by Rod Temperton, who wrote many of the hits of Michael Jackson's early career, including Thriller. This is like Thriller before Thriller.
Yeah.
Off the Wall. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. It's got kind of early prog rock kind of vibes a little bit, right?
Ah, it's crazy. We're off the wall.
That's kind of proggy.
clear, this is a disco record.
Yeah.
Like this is
Well, this is one of the more there's like 2 or 3 very disco tracks on it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Living crazy, that's the
But-
only way. So tonight, gotta leave the 9 to 5 up on the shelf
Michael's vocals here.
my God.
and just enjoy yourself. Groove.
Every improv things he does.
Music get to you like it's so bad at all. You're living off the wall.
Can you
Incredible.
and then this is the way I remember hearing this as like a kid. I was like, because I was already kind of playing music, but I remember being like, what? Like this started again because it starts on like 2 or 4, like it doesn't start on
2,
1.
3, 4. It starts on like the end of 4, right?
Yeah, it's a very unusual place. I remember even I was like, what? Because on the radio, stuff never started on anything but 1. You know.
Again, written by Rod Temperton, who we're going to get back to in a little bit here. The
Who,
next,
of course, Quincy brought in, and I mean, like Quincy truly, like sometimes people are like, what does the producer really do? Quincy did like all that and a bag of chips.
a good
You know?
producer in this era specifically. The role changes and it has changed since then, but they really helped to, I think, hone the artist's musical direction.
Yeah.
and get the best out of them, and then also get the right people in the room at the right time.
Yeah,
that's the biggest
absolutely.
part of it. Still is in a way, although now it's become much more
What's like
about
now?
production and.
Yeah, they can kind of do everything in
Yeah.
a way. It's like
Next up is a song written by Paul McCartney, Sir Paul, which will be an ongoing relationship Michael will have. Of course, he's got The Girl Is Mine on Thriller, which we can discuss later if you want.
Yeah.
And then Say on Paul's early 80s record. This is Girlfriend.
I love that.
Girlfriend, I'm gonna tell your boyfriend, yeah. Tell him exactly what we're doing, yeah. Tell him what you do to me late at night when the wind is free.
Really, really fun song. Paul wrote that for Michael, but he also recorded it on a Wings album in 1978, London Town. Next, another track that I want
What do you think of that? How are you? Are we waiting for quibble bits? Can I quibble about that?
You can quibble. You know, I understand the quibble about things like
We ain't talking about
Girlfriend.
it. How you know? Okay.
I know what you're going to say, pal. I've known you long enough. It's light-hearted.
Well, I mean, yes, it's kind of like almost harkens back to Michael was younger, a little bit of bubblegum pop, kind of like to me. It's a weird placement in this record. Actually, both of the big ballads are in a way, but the other one, which I'm sure we're going to get to, is so like iconic and so associated with Michael. This one just seems weird on this record, but like those dominant 7th chords, like I mean, I know people are like, you like it because it's jazz. Those are so slick. That elevates it a lot. I think it's a great song. I think Michael vocally on it is amazing. Of course, everybody playing on it is great. Just to me, it's a little bit of like it's a lull in the record. Remember we had that on Asia? That didn't get us in any trouble.
Here's Paul's version.
Okay.
From Wings.
Yeah, it's an interesting harmony.
I mean, I prefer Michael's.
Yeah.
But you get it. Like here, it almost makes more sense here.
I think it wasn't, you know what it was? Like Michael was such a, would you call it a sex symbol, I guess? Or just so like girls, young women were so into him. I mean, I remember that when they were just like, you know, and, you know, like the Beatles or whatever. Like, so the lyrics for that and like, I mean, they loved that. I guess it wasn't for me. So that's fine. That's no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, just a notable track here. It's The Falling in Love. This is written by Carol Bayer Sager and David Foster.
Yeah.
Fan of PMs over here.
It's the falling.
Oh, this is with Patty Austin,
It's
right?
making me high.
Yeah, Patty Austin is singing on this track as
I
well.
love Patty Austin, but this was always a weird one for me.
And
too.
David Foster's playing keyboards.
Falling in love, got me falling in love.
I love this track.
Yeah. Very Fostery. Yeah.
Great track.
Yeah.
Great track.
And
I mean,
it really shows like Michael's range. That was always just weird. It's like all of a sudden Patty Austin's in there. Who's killing it on that? Yeah.
Another track that I really want to highlight, especially the end, it's She's Out of My Life. And it's one of the ballads on here, which we might have some quibble with. But Michael's final verse is legendary here because Quincy Jones describes recording this track and that Michael couldn't stop crying by the end of it. And that's how like emotionally connected Michael is. And I can tell you, man, I think this is what separates great vocalists from not great vocalists, from just good vocalists, right? Is that like every note that Michael Jackson sings on this album, and I think every album after this, every word, every phrase, he is so emotionally invested in.
Yeah.
Truly, like an actor is emotionally invested in their role.
He's in the part.
He is in the part all the time that it matters so much to him that it matters to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is the difference between like a technical singer or someone who's got a great voice, but doesn't sell the song as well as one of the all-time greats. And this is a great example.
She's out of my life. She's out of my life.
It's a good place to learn diminished chords.
It is a great diminished song.
Damn indecision and cursed pride. I kept my love for her locked deep inside, and it cuts like a knife. She's out of my life.
How great is that?
So good.
Incredible.
Really coming out super influenced by When I Think of Home, Diana Ross.
Yeah.
From The Wiz, that ballad. And just that whole way of, Michael was so influential. Others, DeBarge for sure, El DeBarge. Obviously Stevie Wonder was his ballad. I mean, just that style. But yes, that vulnerability, that being part of the role. Apparently, every take that he sang that, he would cry.
That's what
it
Quincy
wasn't just
said.
like they got lucky on it.
Quincy said every single
And when
one.
he do it live, he would, women would be falling out, girls or young girls.
This is what I'm saying. It's not even an act. It's like he is, it's like how people talk about like.
It's like when he's a scarecrow.
When people talk about like how to win friends and influence people, that kind of like Dale Carnegie thing. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, you have to really care about the person you're speaking with for them to feel you really caring.
Right.
And the trick is you actually have to care about it. And this is not like, I'm just going to like put on a thing. And he's like actually does care about it to the point where he can't help it, which takes me to our next category. So let's do some Desert Island tracks.
Okay, let's go to that desert. Let's have a little dessert. How about it?
A little Desert Island track. So Peter, your Desert Island track?
Yeah, I can't help it.
Stevie Wonder.
Yep.
Susse Green.
Yep. Bed.
Looking in my mirror.
Woo. Perfection.
Took me by surprise.
I mean, everybody.
It
not
is
just
perfection.
Michael.
It is perfection.
I can't help but see
Synths,
you.
Rhodes, drums. Oh, man.
Through my mind.
Oh, right up to that range.
We might get to that in the nerd nook for our studio
let's do
programs.
it.
Since your disguise.
That's key bass, right?
We got Louis Johnson on the bass from the credits.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It's getting
Of course.
better all the time.
Double up the vocals.
Can't help it.
Or
If I
triple.
wanted to, I wouldn't help it.
Chorus.
Even if I could, I can't help it. If I wanted to,
Man.
I wouldn't help it. No, I can't help it. If I wanted to,
I think he's
I wouldn't
purposely,
help it.
one of those
Even if I
voices
could, I
is
can't help it.
significantly flatter.
Yes, I was about to say.
And I think he's doing that on purpose to enhance the chorus.
It is.
effect.
And to fit in with the harmony and to give it a little more humanity. And
Incredible
Very
production.
intentional.
Sophisticated.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, is he out of tune there?
No. That's all intentional.
Left to run my fingers.
Strings.
Oh.
And the synths.
Yeah.
The Stevie Wonder and Greg Phillinganes
Yeah.
on the keyboards on the
Oh,
session.
oh, right.
Bringing sparkles to your eyes.
Could have gone on Songs of the Key of Life. I mean,
Yes.
it has that similar au revoir. Ooh,
man. The drum fills are perfection on here. Oh, yeah, that's it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's
Man.
also, it's in your repertoire. I've played it my whole life practically.
Yeah.
It is almost a standard at this point for most people. I think it's an easy, we played it there on the intro, which was so much fun. But like, man, it just, like a lot of the great Stevie tunes, it kind of plays itself.
Yeah. And it's funny because it was always like, oh, this is the jazziest thing on the record, which now I kind of get it after all these years. Because I don't think of this as a jazz cut. You know what I mean? Or as being necessarily any more jazzy, because to me, Michael's vocal sensibilities as a musician were very jazz. I mean, not jazz oriented, but they had the jazz sensibility to it.
Yeah.
And so for this, I think because the harmony is so like that, that A7 to A flat.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, like this whole record
That
has a
common
lot.
tone of that D sharp on top.
Yeah.
A7.
But it's all like, it's no more harmony or jazzier than any of Stevie Wonder's other music. I guess just his world is so unique and has that element that when it comes on kind of a high-level bespoke disco album, I'm not insulting it by calling it that, but it's a little bit like, wow, you know, but to me, it's the perfect kind of slight little off the pathway in this record, you know.
Sorry, I'm just writing
and this wasn't a hit or anything.
Write
There
that
was a
down
bunch
for bespoke playlist titles. High-level bespoke disco.
I mean, it is. It's a disco record, but this is not a disco track. There's really only a couple disco tracks on this
There's
record.
a few. There's definitely a few.
But this isn't one of them, I don't think.
Yeah. So let me set the stage for you, Peter.
We're gonna come back and listen to some of that because I do have my what's
Yeah,
the
you got
thing
your Apex
my
moment.
Apex
Yeah.
moment is on there. I'm greedy. Sue me.
1996.
Yes.
I'm a junior in high school.
Yeah. Congrats. You made it.
I own
Is
a
that your final year?
I bought a 1984 Chevy S10
Okay.
for $500.
Nice.
Again, it's 1996.
On credit?
No.
Cash.
No, I saved up. I had some gigs I saved up. Driving around High Ridge to teach various little kids how to play piano. And I was not aware of this album up to this point. I was too young. I was born when it was made.
Yeah.
Thriller at the time when it came out was and still remains one of my all-time favorite. I think Thriller is as close as a perfect pop record that's ever been made. I think we can all agree that it should be talked about in that sense. But I didn't really know Off the Wall because it was a little bit before my time. Yeah. Thriller was so massive, and then Bad was so massive. Oh, yeah. Those two specifically. And I love Dangerous too, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like that run, Thriller and beyond, kind of just took over my early childhood. Michael Jackson was my favorite artist. Danced in my kitchen every night to Thriller when it came out. And it wasn't until I was a teenager, like 16, 17, that I discovered this specific track. I forget where I heard it, but I said, is that Michael Jackson? Mm-hmm. This was also, I was into jazz at the time. So I was like, this is a different sensibility than Thriller. This is less pop. This has more of the things that I'm into right now. And it was this.
Woo!
Perfect.
Yep.
Girl, close your eyes. Let that rhythm get into you. Don't try to fight it. There ain't nothing that you can do. Relax your mind. Lay back and groove with mine. You gotta feel that beat. And we can ride the boogie, share that beat of love. I wanna rock with you.
The hand clap. The hand clap.
Yeah.
Big four hand clap.
Yeah, it is Big Four. Second verse. Big ass verse.
Perfect disco track. Perfect pop track.
That's a classic.
Again, the sea wind horns here. Jerry Hay.
It's like a supple breeze coming from the sea wind.
When you feel that heat, and we gonna ride a boogie. Share that beat
Man.
of love.
That bass drum sound, perfect. The sound of, oh my God.
The whole track is magical.
Yeah.
The harmony here, the horns, the bridge.
The bridge, I know. It's like, oh, the bass here, Lewis. Double. I love this little segue, a little instrumental. I remember I was like, damn, what is that? These sparklies. Boom. Was Johnson. Modulation? Oh no, second time. Wait for it.
Save it.
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah. We'll lop off one beat. Why not? Man.
You gotta, when they finished tracking that, they must have like just handshakes all around, break out the cigars. They had to know that they just killed that.
Yeah.
They crushed that.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
But you think about the final product, like of this record, but that track in particular, and I actually don't even think this was the first single. It may have been, but I think it was "Don't Stop." But I remember when this came out on the radio, man, it was like, damn, like the sound, the whole thing. And when you're a kid, you don't quite associate. I mean, I remember exactly where I was when I heard this in the vacant lot across from my parents' house. Somebody brought out a boombox. And it's like it came on the radio, and everybody was like, "What?" You know.
I mean,
and then being at the skating rink like the next day, and you hear it. But think about what what we just heard did for the culture.
Oh my God!
Like of the world for sure.
But
I
don't
mean,
have that anymore.
No. And I mean, it was like everything was so radio driven. And I'll just say, like, I think a big difference between Off the Wall, obviously Off the Wall, and I couldn't find Off the Wall in my LP collection. I know it's there somewhere, but we do have this. Ever heard of that? Thriller. But like the big difference between those records, because there's so much commonality. Q, Temperton, the rhythm section. I mean, a lot, Michael Jackson mainly, and his musical prowess and his stamp on it. But I think that, Off the Wall was radio driven.
Yeah.
And it was a crossover, and it was a huge record. I mean, it's one of the best selling records of all time, if it wasn't being overshadowed by the best selling record.
Yeah.
But Thriller was like right at the cusp, but it was MTV driven.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially for white America.
100%.
For white America, like that's what
This
really
is
pushed through.
Moonwalk, pre-videos. There were videos for this, but the Rock With You video is him in like a sparkly disco jumpsuit.
Yeah, there was nowhere to watch it. There was
nothing. Yeah, exactly right.
But it was also like it was a top Billboard charting and stuff. But it got not Thriller. Off the Wall got pushed out of the Grammys. I think it got like a R&B song award or something.
Yeah.
But it was still like the segregated radio stuff.
There was segregated
like he wasn't
radio
played
stuff.
on white radio. So like St. Louis, no 106, but he was played on 108.
It won a Grammy for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance.
Yeah, for one track
for
or
one
something,
track,
right.
for Don't Stop. But it
was like by then it was like the biggest selling record of that year of 80.
Yeah, it had 2 number 1 hits, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. It had a number 10 with Off the Wall and a number 10 with She's Out of My Life. It sold over 7 million initial copies in its first year, has sold now over 20 million, certified 8 times platinum, remains one of the best-selling albums.
4 top 10 singles. I think that's extremely rare.
It's extremely rare. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard charts, reached number 1 on the Billboard Top Black Albums charts, now called the Top R&B Hip Hop Albums. For 16 weeks, it was number 1. Yeah. But so the track...
I just want to finish one thing real quick. What I meant about the culture, just the culture of humanity.
100%.
And like the U.S., sure, but like what like this put more happiness and health and dance. You talk about a little dude in High Ridge,
100%.
Japan. Oh my! Just
everywhere around the world.
Yeah,
and we don't have an artist like that, and we probably won't ever have it again.
Yeah.
We're so in our little boxes with each other and fighting over stupid stuff. I mean, you could say someone like, but even like Beyonce or Taylor Swift are polarizing now in a way that they wouldn't have been. Yeah. And I don't think it's them. I think it's us. I think
the music,
the culture
I think
itself.
Pop music changed. I don't want to be, yelling at the clouds. Boomer yelling at the clouds.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that like you hear that rhythm, like it's Michael, like it's his the way that he approaches things, his syncopation, his vocal abilities, his musical abilities, Quincy's production, the string, like the humanity that was still in the music. I remember this record when I started kind of learning about playing and stuff. I was like, I would go back and listen to this and be like, wait, is that drum machine? Because I thought I was like the way that the rhythm section was, but that was like there was so much vibe and humanity to it. And I think it's something when you talk about something, when you basically, as you say, have a disco record or a half disco record, and it ages so well. That kind of
pretty awesome.
It belittles it a little bit for us to even throw in, disco.
Well, let's talk a little bit right now, Peter, about Rod Temperton. So that last track, Rock With You, was written by Rod Temperton, who was from the band, formerly of the funk disco band Heatwave.
Yeah.
And he originally wrote Rock With You under the title, I Wanna Eat You Up. And Quincy Jones requested more radio-friendly lyrics. Here's Rod Temperton.
What did I say about radio-driven? This was radio-driven.
Here's Rod's original demo. This is pretty great. Some of these things are added, I think, after the fact.
Definitely the drums.
Tonight's the night when I'm falling in love.
And he's got the outline there. A little pitchy, as they would say on the shows.
It's all right, though.
Yeah, he's got the button. that's great.
UK's own Rod Temperton. Give it up, everybody. Here's
Rod,
another.
Shout out Rod, though.
Yeah, no, incredible artist. Wrote, again, so many of Michael Jackson's biggest hits.
Well, supposedly, what did he have? 3 or 4 tunes on this record? Something like that.
2.
Oh, he had 2.
I believe 2.
Okay, but apparently they were like Michael was, or I guess Quincy got the songs, and he was hoping that he was hoping Michael. He wanted Michael to pick one of them.
Yeah.
I think it might be more than 2. But anyway, or maybe
It could be 3.
Yeah. But anyway, he wanted Michael to pick one, and Michael's like, I love them all. I want to do them all.
Excellent.
And they pushed some other stuff off.
That's great.
Yeah. And then, of course, Thriller, goes next level.
I have this. This is Rock With You with just strings, Rhodes, and Michael's voice. Check this out. And horns.
Oh.
Girl, close your eyes. Let that rhythm get into you.
It's a touchdown.
Damn.
Don't try
And an extra point.
to fight it. There ain't nothing that you can do. Relax your mind.
Oh, let's go unison.
Lay back and groove with mine. You gotta feel that heat, and we can ride the boogie. Share that
we don't.
beat
Huh.
of love. I wanna rock
Dude.
Yeah.
Man. Shout out to those string players, because you can hear them. Like, this wasn't just like, yes, it was great string writing, Q hooked up, like the production of it and all that, but they are playing their asses off. Like, you can hear it in there. Those are like crack players putting a vibe on it. Like, if you just went in and like read this down, like I don't know, you know what? This was all added at another studio. It was all recorded separately, probably afterwards, and they were listening to it. And shout out to them for getting the vibe and bringing the vibe.
For sure. Peter, let's get to some categories here. Your
Okay.
apex moment is Can't Help It, from basically the end of Can't Help It.
Yes. Oh
starting
my
at
God. He goes up to
320.
a minor 11. I'm going to get nerdy, but he goes up to a.
No, I can't help it.
So that's minor 9 on that F minor. He's singing. And then he's going to go up to the. He literally goes to the apex. Then when he's improvising here. What he sings here. That syncopation.
Killing.
What?
Killing.
And this is a fade out, which is a quibble bit I have. But for some reason, this one works for me. Oh! Ow! Sorry.
He threw it.
Michael, man.
All right, that is an excellent apex moment. For me, man, I'm going, and this might be actually, I'm not sure. Let us know in the comments who wrote Working Day and Night. Do you know? And that might be Rod Temperton, actually.
I don't know.
Here's the horns, though. This is my apex moment.
Oh, man, Louis Johnson goes crazy on that. I think Louis Johnson, and he's co-wrote it.
Again, those horns, Jerry Hay.
Yeah. See, this is more funk than disco to me. Shit.
How great is that?
Oh my God.
So that horn breakdown is my apex moment for the
Good one. That was a great one.
Bespoke playlist title. So Peter, you have
What the hell did I come up with?
Art Meets Chart. That's the name of the playlist. Art Meets Chart. I think it's a great playlist. So you know what you have on here?
Yeah.
You've got Art Meets Chart, right? You got Michael Jackson, Off the Wall.
Yeah.
Right? You got a little Prince.
Purple Rain, for sure, for
right?
sure.
Maybe you got a little Steely Dan Asia, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah. Was that? Yeah.
Maybe,
yeah, for sure.
But there's a smattering of albums where the art and the chart really come at a high level.
Yeah. And maybe not so much anymore, but it happened a little bit more. Thriller, of course, too.
What? No? Who? Thriller? Oh, Michael Jackson Thriller.
Michael Jackson
Right,
Thriller.
I've heard of that.
I did have an alternative, handcrafted hit factory. My idea with this, like, to me, the thing about this record, and there's very few, and you don't want to have a whole bunch clogged in. Occasionally, there's this intersection where everything is just off the charts. I don't know if that means it's a perfect record, because, I do have some quibble bits in terms of some of the repertoire or whatever, but I mean, like, the playing, look, assuming I'm a musician, so I love great playing, but I mean, shout out Quincy Jones for like making sure that not only the right people in the room, but the right stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. Because they had a bunch of great musicians that record on this that had never got on there because it was like piecing it together. It's like, it's great to go in and do a jazz record where like, we made a whole record in 2 hours, but sometimes it takes, a whole lot of crafting to do it, to be like, we're going to make something that's going to last for the ages.
Mine, I just have modern pop masterpieces. That's pretty boring, actually. I couldn't come up with anything else.
That's good.
Up next, if this were on a streaming platform and a recommendation for Up Next would come up, you picked some really good ones. You picked Stevie Wonder's Song in the Key of Life.
Yep.
I think that's great.
Yep.
Picked Thriller, of course. Picked Sinatra at the Sands, which is a Quincy Jones.
Yeah. I think
Quincy
that's one of
Jones
his other
production.
greatest records with Count Basie Band. I mean, he's conducting the band and did some of the arrangements and stuff.
I have Herbie Hancock's Sunlight from around the same time.
Woo! You like Herbie in the 70s?
We're going to get there. That's
my
a whole
God.
episode, Herbie in the 70s.
Look, he's already lurking. He's lurking in the
I have
background.
the episode completely finished in my mind. Yeah, if y'all don't know Sunlight. Okay, my other up next, I had actually Earth, Wind & Fire's I Am because of the David Foster collaboration, After the Love Is Gone.
After the Love Is Gone, yeah.
And also Earth, Wind & Fire mixed the sort of boogie of Off the Wall with...
They were kind of into some perfect production, too. That was the
production,
thing.
The arrangements.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Same playlist. To me, it's Off the Wall. Incredible. Okay. Quibble bits. It's time.
Let's start with yours.
I don't have many on this one.
You don't have any?
I honestly, I think so. You could talk about the ballads. You see, which I think you will talk about the ballads.
But you got none. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think your girlfriend thing is valid. I actually don't, of all of the, on Thriller and Off the Wall, the two Paul McCartneys, I could kind of take or leave. I mean, I like him, but they're not my favorite parts of the album.
Yeah, I like them. I just feel like they don't quite fit. And this is a small, like when you have such a perfect type of record or a great record, maybe you need a little bit of lull or something.
I love Paul McCartney too. It's nothing against Paul McCartney.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No. And it's just, and obviously they had such a fruitful, collaboration when they did it. It's just on this particular record, it always feels, I'm going to quibble. I mean, it's all good, but anything that I would skip over, which I would.
I kind of think they should have just made...
some people, like if you have a young female of a certain age, like that was a rite of passage. That was like, he was singing to you, and I get it.
I think Michael and Paul should have just made a duo album together. They should have just made a band.
Right.
You know what I mean? the Beatles 5. No.
Right.
Something. But they could have just made a band together and made their own album.
Well, and think about like, you know, the Beatles and whatever it was, 64 on Ed Sullivan show, Michael Jackson with Jackson 5, but little Michael out in front being on Ed Sullivan. There's a lot of like connections there with the kind of cultural zeitgeist that they did.
Okay, what are your equivalents?
So, okay, well, yeah, Girlfriend, but then also just there's 2 ballads on the B side that in a row that are both in E.
Yeah.
Which I'm a
The
little
key of
bit
E,
like.
E
Yeah.
major, yeah.
Which is a little bit weird. I think most people don't care or whatever, and that's fine. But like, that's getting very quibbly to have 2 ballads in the same key.
Yeah, this is kind of what we quibbled
He's a
with.
good key. He's good at it.
With Steely Dan's Asia, just about
Yeah.
the track order, and that's a very small quibble. Snobometer.
One other thing, though, I had for quibble is that as much great stuff is in there, and this is very tiny kind of thing, but like when you played some of those stems, like with the horns, some of that stuff I heard for the first time. Like, it's such a thick record.
Agreed.
And the production is so good. The engineering, and what is the gentleman's name? I always forget his name. That dude is a bad MF. He's the same guy who did Thriller. And that's Q's guy. I mean, this is Q's guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Q's guys. One of the most incredible engineers.
Bruce Sweden.
Yeah, genius. Like, the fact that he could place all that in there and the records sound so good, like Rock With You. But like, you have to really listen and isolate things to get some of that string stuff.
Yeah.
And I get it. So like, I'm like, I can't even say it's too thick because it really is perfect. But sometimes I'm like, I would have loved to be able to hear all that. But with everything going on, they did an amazing job. So
Yeah, I you know what? That's a decent take, actually, if you're going to quibble with anything. That Some of the stuff...
because as much as I'd listened to that record until you had those stems, I was like, dang, I didn't even totally notice that
It is
stuff.
very maximalist. Okay, so the Snobometer. Is it super snobby? It's a 10, or not very snobby at all?
I like how
It's
you're
a
trying
1.
to get dog back. You're trying to cut off
I figured out how to
dissent.
talk about it now. Is it really snobby, a snobby album? Is it a 10? Or is it not a snobby album? It's an accessible album. It's a 1.
Okay, I'll put it at 3 then.
Okay. I'm going to go 1. I think it's his most accessible of an... It's a
So
disco...
it's like Kenny G.
You think that's the most accessible? Kenny G?
You said Aunt Linda loves Kenny G. You told me.
We're sidetracked with... I think we let our avatars of Ethan Iverson and Aunt Linda take over.
Well, that's part of it. Would Ethan Iverson, what would he think? How would he rate this record?
He loves this record.
Does he though?
Yeah, of course he does.
He may not like, I don't know. We got to bring him on.
Is it better than KOB? Is it better than Kinda Blue?
No. Maybe.
Maybe.
After listening to it and diving into it again.
It might be as good.
I think it's more important. I think it's contributed more.
I don't know.
More
I
to
think
humanity.
Kinda Blue is more important, but I think this is as good of a recording for sure.
Oh my God.
Accoutrements, the cover. You got 9, I
I got a
7.
9. And I don't know why I don't say 10 because there's nothing could be better about it. But tell me why you think it's 7.
I think it's good, not great.
I think for pop records of that time, I think it was important because it was so intentional. I love that to have him like in the tux, but he's got the socks,
Yeah.
which was his trade, you know. But yeah, maybe you mean artistically. Or you don't like the way he looks.
No, it's great, but I just think it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just like...
This is so different than jazz records.
I know. Thriller is amazing.
Yeah.
The lion on the inside, you know what? Or the tiger on the inside, excuse me.
I would actually rate this lower.
You're crazy.
But I'm more attached to this
There's
record.
a tiger. There's a baby tiger.
This was weird. Even at the time, I was like, wow, because I was in 8th grade.
All
when
right,
this
we got to
record came
go.
out.
Peter, this is so much fun. Thank you for listening. For Open Studio members, check out our Nerd Nook. We're going to be talking a little bit about Can't Help It and some of the chords there.
that's going to be fun.
And leave us a rating and review wherever you get your
Yes,
podcast.
please do. Did you know we're in the top 25 now? So
we're making moves.
that's right.
Making
right.
moves. Till
Thank
next
you,
time.
man. You'll hear it.
Bye.